A huge fire in the Spanish city of Valencia has completely engulfed 2 blocks of flats.
A towering inferno erupts with chilling precision.
Can't stop thinking about the kids who are without a house now.
An echo of the Grenfell Tower catastrophe that leaves behind a trail of horror and despair. This seemingly small flare soon swells into an unstoppable blaze, propelled by gale-force winds, and within 15 minutes, the entire building was engulfed, causing 10 lives to be lost. Not only is it a tragic accident and Valencia's worst ever fire, but a calamity that could be avoided. This disaster exposes an awful truth: the world's failing fire regulations. This deadly tower block blaze in Spain has focused attention on notorious flammable building materials, but around the world, there's little momentum to stop using them. February 22nd in Valencia. The clock nears 5:30 p.m., marking a moment that will etch itself into the annals of the city's history. Disaster strikes. A fire ignites on a balcony on the 7th floor of a 14-story building in the Campanar neighborhood. An awning catching fire, marking the beginning of a catastrophic ordeal that would reverberate around the world. Whipping at 40 miles per hour propel the blaze, granting it a destructive life of its own. It climbs, consuming the facade with predatory speed, and within only 15 minutes, the entire structure is alight. Onlookers watch in horror, their phones capturing the unfolding tragedy. As residents are trapped, their cries for help piercing the chaos. Some, driven to the brink, leap for their lives, their fates now in the hands of the valiant firefighters and their rescue nets below. Amidst the roar and crackle of flames, balconies became makeshift rescue points. The 26-year-old Sarah from Portugal and her Belgian boyfriend were trapped on their 7th-floor balcony for almost 2 hours. They covered their faces with scarves and woolly hats to protect themselves from the flames, smoke, and intense heat. At one point, they were even filmed trying to jump over a partition wall, separating their balcony from their neighbor's terrace. The couple were heard shouting for help as their rescuers tried to calm them down, and darkness descended on the area. Once we jumped from our flat to a balcony and could see the flames all around us, that was the moment we thought we were going to die there, says Sarah. But I said to my boyfriend, I refuse to die. The conditions around us were telling us it would happen. But I just knew it wasn't our time, she adds. The desperate wait ended in relief for the couple. They were plucked to safety around 8 p.m., with onlookers fearing a fatal outcome, cheering as they were brought to the ground. We refused to hug because that was a sign of giving up, she says. We gave each other just a little kiss, and then we started seeing the firemen coming towards us. They had methodically reached the lower balconies, freeing those they could. The elevators, usually forbidden in fires, became unlikely escape routes for some quick-thinking inhabitants. Tragically, for 10 inhabitants from the higher floors, rescue came too late. 4 of those were members of the same family: the mother, the father, a 3-year-old girl, and a baby, all residents of the 8th and 9th floors. These levels lay directly above the 7th floor, where the fire erupted under mysterious circumstances.
Los niños empezaron a chillar y la gente chillaba y había explosiones.
In moments, the fire transformed these floors into deadly traps, the fierce flames and suffocating smoke cutting off escape routes in the complex's 2 buildings. Sarah mentions she knew the tower had been cheaply built and that the infrastructure was poor due to frequent flooding. When it rained, walls in the upstairs apartment would flood. Repair teams would repaint and move on. There were a lot of red flags, she says, but people had their lives there. We had a comfortable apartment, so we stayed. Now I just can't understand why they let that material stay on the building after it was banned. One day, it was so windy and a piece of it just flew off. The towers are now just blackened shells. The life sucked out of them. So what do we know about this building? The blocks are in the Campanar neighborhood, one of the most affluent areas of Spain's 3rd biggest city. Some 450 people are believed to live there. The building was built around 2008, and had 138 apartments. The developer FBEX began constructing the building in 2005, in the middle of the real estate bubble, but the company filed for bankruptcy 5 years later. Pilar Bernabe, the government's representative in Valencia, said it was hard to say how many people were missing because it was a building with many flats in which there were people of foreign nationality, whose location is more difficult to pinpoint. However, the blaze's timing at 5:30 p.m. was one small mercy. Many of the over 400 residents were away from their homes. Some who were present acted swiftly upon noticing the signs of danger, escaping the building in time. The building's caretaker played a pivotal role in the evacuation, promptly alerting residents and guiding them to safety. "I did everything I could until the smoke stopped me," he said. It's very hard to see all that. It's very hard," he said regrettably. But as the flames are tamed, these questions burn brighter. Why did the fire spread so quickly? The answer lies in the fabric of the building itself. The facade, clad in polyurethane under a layer of aluminum, allows the fire to feast and flourish. This material, praised for its insulation properties, now stands as the culprit for the rapid escalation of a disaster that could have been averted. As the world reckons with the lessons of Grenfell, the tragedy in Valencia becomes a poignant and urgent echo. Experts such as a fire science professor articulate a chilling truth. Valencia is not an isolated incident but a symptom of a widespread malaise. Not in Spain, nor anywhere else, he predicts, is immune to such potential calamities. The genesis of this crisis can be traced back to the 1970s, when the oil embargo compelled architects to rethink building insulation. They turned to synthetic polymers, materials now ubiquitous in the modern world, prized for their versatility and affordability. But these polymers, as pointed out previous, share a dangerous characteristic. They are inherently flammable. Decades have seen these materials, often aluminum composite material, ACM, with a polymer core, become a mainstay in high-rise facades. They offered a dual boon to builders: aesthetic flexibility and thermal insulation. Yet the tests that deemed them fire-resistant were misleading, designed not to replicate real-world conditions, but to pass under narrow parameters. The Valencia tragedy exposes the fatal folly of such tests. When the fire attacked the edges of ACM, the polymer ignited, stripping away the metal and unleashing a maelstrom. It was the chimney effect in devastating action, turning the building's ventilated facade into a flue for the upward surge of flames. The Valencia fire, while quenched, ignites a deeper inquiry into fire safety engineering and its role in architectural design. However, besides the material use, in the urgent battle against the blaze, the firefighters' strategy also raises questions, especially concerning the higher floors. Questions about the fire's rapid spread and the building's compliance with outdated 1996 fire protection standards, which did not mandate the stringent sectorization later regulations would require. These critical safety measures are designed to prevent fires from moving floor to floor and to ensure stairwells remain unbreached by smoke and flame, a safeguard not in place at the time of construction. The unexpected intensity and swiftness of the fire leave responders without crucial information. The Campanar building was not listed in the firefighter's guide of high-risk structures, leaving them unaware of the edifice's particularities. The voracious spread of the fire, fed by the south wind, was a stark revelation even for the seasoned fire chief. Valencia's fire response protocol spells out key priorities: ensure safety, rescue people, control and extinguish the fire. Despite the orderly list, the real-world application is anything but sequential, with the safety of responders also at grave risk. Indeed, the peril is palpable, with one firefighter still hospitalized, though out of danger, and another who has already faced the trauma of discharge. Enrique Chisbert, Valencia City Council's fire chief, recounts the evening with a heavy heart. The bravery of his team, under dire circumstances, cannot be overstated. He, reflecting on the bravery, speaks of firefighters ready to bid farewell to their lives, one even requesting through crackled radio static that his colleagues tell his wife of his love. Valencia's council, led by Maria Jose Catala, has passed declarations of profound gratitude for the selfless dedication demonstrated by these first responders. In a heart-wrenching turn of events, not all could be reached in time. The upper floors, home to 10 souls, remained untouched by rescue ladders, the residents therein succumbing to the inferno. As the embers cool, the building's skeleton bears witness to the inferno's fury. Forensic technicians and police are meticulously working to identify the deceased and conduct autopsies. The community reels from the shock, with a family of 4 among the casualties, leaving behind a chasm of grief in a tight-knit community. In the wake of the fire, the community of Valencia, and indeed the nation, calls for an overhaul of fire safety regulations. The grief of loss is matched only by the fervor for change. This tragedy, born of complacency, becomes a catalyst for action. Authorities, architects, and citizens alike pledge to rectify the failings that allowed such a disaster to occur. The tragedy's aftermath, Valencia observes a solemn minute's silence in the City Hall Square, a gesture echoed near the blackened remains of the building, where the community gathers, offering a silent prayer for the departed. The silence is broken by a round of applause, a tribute to life and resilience, and a vow to learn from the painful lessons the fire has imparted. A cascade of support floods in for those displaced, as Valencia shows its inherent generosity. Essential items are collected. The bonds of community are tightened in the face of shared loss. Valencia's darkest night will be remembered not just for the lives lost and the heroes born, but for the lessons learned. The fire serves as a grim reminder that safety must never be compromised. The community's resolve is hardened. Such a tragedy must never happen again. The call for safer homes, for a future where lives are not lost to preventable architectural disasters, echoes through the streets of Valencia and beyond. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you want to support the channel.